Good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Digital Transformation Thursdays. I'm JJ Dicini. I'm the managing partner of Dicini Law Office. As you are aware, we are putting together this Digital Transformation Thursdays as a free webinar in celebration of our 20th year. And I have some good news for the community. Let me just put this up here. One of the things that we did when we started Digital Transformation Thursdays was try to figure out, well, actually, when we set up the Digital Transformation Thursdays, we envisioned it as a free event for the benefit of the community. And what happened was we received a lot of requests for e-certificates. And so we didn't know what to do initially, and eventually we decided, well, why don't we turn the e-certificates as a way to give back. And so what we've done now is we've established a DTT Donate. And if you register for the event, you will receive an email that will give you a unique link that will give you a chance to get a certificate and make a donation. And we received some donations in the past couple of weeks. And all the proceeds from the e-certificates will be donated to COVID-19 healthcare workers through DTT Donate. And we've already made our first donation to the Philippine General Hospital, where we donated 5 printers and I want to say a dozen cell phones. And we're very, and here's a picture of the officials of the PGH who accepted the donation, led by Dr. Dennis Serrano. And we'd like to thank you, the DTT community, for making this happen. Of course, we'd also like to thank our speakers who have given their time, our guest speakers who have given their time and effort for being with us today and share their knowledge to the DTT community, to the DTT staff who put this together, and to every one of you who attended our seminars and got an e-certificate, or even just attending. So I think this is an opportunity to give, to learn, and then to share and help in the fight against COVID in our own small way. And we will set up a transparency page on our site, and so watch out for that. We will list down, as we mentioned before, we will list down the individuals who, when you make a donation, when you sign up, you will also, okay. When you make a donation, we will ask you for what name you want to be included in the transparency page, and we will post that when the time comes. All right. So welcome to our episode on digital banking, and of course, this whole series is about digital transformation. And a few weeks ago, we had our first Digital Transformation Thursdays, which focused on, that episode focused on the future of finance. And we looked at the different types of cryptocurrencies, and we had a discussion with the regulator led by Commissioner F. Amatong of the Securities and Exchange Commission. So today we're very happy to be with our guests who are in themselves leaders in this space, as it were, to talk about this transformation that we're seeing in the banking sector. And as you know, if you're a bank depositor, a user of the banking system, here, one of the problems that we face is that it's very difficult to move money from one bank to another. If you're a business owner, you probably find that you have to maintain multiple bank accounts in order to do your business. And so this is among the other things that we will be discussing today. And we're very happy to have as our presenters the heads of 2 major players in the space in digital banking. I'm sort of delaying a bit because I'm experiencing some technical difficulties in putting up the introduction slides for our speakers, but they were flashed to you earlier. Our first speaker, of course, is Mr. Mohammed Karain from ING, and I really apologize. I'm looking my computer is freezing right now, and so he is the head of retail banking for ING Philippines. If you've seen this, you've probably seen the ads that they've been putting up, but there's also an app that you can download, and you can open a bank account with ING without needing to go anywhere and just do everything online, and also to bank online. He's also, let me just see if I can bring up his, I'd like to do a proper presentation. I'm really sorry, but my machine is crashing here a bit. Let me see. Well then, I'm sorry. Maybe I'll do the presentation, the formal presentation. Mohammed, I don't want to waste any more time. Mohammed has been with ING for some time. He's currently the head of digital banking for Asia and the retail banking head for ING in the Philippines. He's a graduate of University Paris 8 with a master's degree. So we'd like to bring Mohammed on. Mohammed, if you could turn on your, yeah, there you go. And I will...
Hi, good afternoon. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I hope I get less technical issue than you did. Let me figure out the way I can share my slides.
Yes, yes. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, great.
So we're good to start, I guess, right?
Yes, we are.
Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. Super happy to be here today, and actually pretty excited. And I feel like people like Lito, people like Vijay, we're part of the same team trying to bring digitalization in the Philippines and digital banking and financial services to the market, and that's an effort that we are doing. And to be honest, I feel part of the same tribe as Lito and Vijay in that journey, and super excited about what we've been able to achieve so far as a group. Today I'll try to basically give you a couple of message and give you also a little bit of the perspective on the way ING is looking at the markets and the way we are trying to expand our value proposition to Southeast Asia and in Philippines specifically, right? I'll start with a few words about ING and trying to give you like an idea of like who we are as a bank, right? We are present in about 40 countries. In about 13 retail markets, and we have about 39 million customers worldwide. We have a balance sheet of about 1 trillion euros, and of which like 500 billion assets and 500 billion deposit. One thing that is really important for us is the Net Promoter Score, and I come back to that in a bit, because we really believe that the only way to differentiate now is through customer experience, and that's going to be the main message of my presentation today. But first, I'd like to start with a little bit of the findings. I mean, our learnings and the way we are looking at the digital financial services and the digital services as a whole. We really believe that like we need to build, and our future is to ecosystem and extend beyond banking. And we really believe that like we have to be connected with other players in the world as well. That's our think forward strategy, and that's the way we are aiming to empower people to stay a step ahead in life and in business. People live on platform. I think you're going to be familiar with that. Philippines is one of the biggest user penetration of Facebook. Like I've seen the digital adoption going really far in this market. Even the past 3 years have been like a fast train when I saw the developments in the market. So that's a given. Like, and that's an important statement, because you understand that like in the financial services world that we are living, like banking products, I mean, have been pretty much a commodity. And to be honest, you have an account with bank A or bank B, the product itself and the account itself does not really differentiate. We also know that people's time is precious, right? And we also know and have to make the humble statement that despite all the things that we are trying to do, people's time is precious, and to be honest, they don't want really to spend it on finance. And in your introduction, you were saying that like most of you who run their own business have to spend a lot of time managing their finance. And I guess nobody wakes up on a Saturday morning like extremely excited to think like that you're going to spend 2 hours doing your finance for your business. At ING, as I was saying, like we have 39 million customers, and we have about 4.5 billion interaction on mobile. And this is like a figure that is extremely important, because it tells us that, like, you know, the mobile is the device, is the way people like to interact, is the way they are interacting. And even today at ING, 41% of our users are only using a mobile, which is like an amazing figure. If you think about it, like that's like where mobile has been the primary channel for a lot of people and will become the primary channel more and more. Also, we know that in order to succeed, we need to build a platform, and we need to build a technology platform that is open, that is scalable, and that is borderless. I know I am part of a bigger journey of ING worldwide, and what we are trying to do in the Philippines is really to bring that platform and deploy it in the market with the best technology, cybersecurity, and customer-centric practices that we can. We also know that, like, in this world, we are not the one defining the standards for customer experience. The expectations are defined by tech giants, internet giants, and the brands that you see on the screen now. This is the brands that people like to interact with. This is the brands that are delivering differentiated customer experience, and they are delivering that by being relevant, easy, instant, social, visual, personal, entertaining, informational. Like, it's really like the experience that makes the difference for those brands. And if you think about it, the price and let's say the cost of interacting is not like really like what comes the first in most of the cases. So how do we stand out, right? How do we stand out as a branch? How do we continue to be relevant in a world where tech giants are becoming more and more relevant in the life of the people, and where people are after more and more instant interaction and easy interaction with their suppliers? I think our objective is really, our objective in this journey is really to make banking frictionless. And that's really what we are focusing on as a brand. And that's really what we are trying to bring also, like in the markets where we are present. It comes with a customer obsession. It comes about focusing on the people, what their expectation is, and the way you can create a difference for them. And we have defined for this like 3 customer experience principles that are pretty relevant for this journey. Being remarkably easy, surprisingly smart, and surprisingly personal, and refreshingly smart. Remarkably easy means that we want the things to be easy for the customer. We don't want terms and conditions of like 100 of pages. We don't want non-ending forms that you have to fill into under a relationship. We don't want, let's say, you to move to a place to do something or to finalize a process. We want everything to be happening on your mobile, and the feeling that we want when a customer finishes an interaction with us, we want them to feel and to think, oh, that was easy. That's really what we are focusing on, and that's really what we are trying to deliver. What we are trying to do is to be also surprisingly personal, right? This is a really important point, because we want to talk the same language as the people, and we want them to feel that when we talk to them, we are talking to them as an individual and not as one of many. You know, just addressing people by their first name, addressing people by information that is relevant to them, approaching people with the things that really matters in the context where they are. That's the personalization layer that we are continuously building, and that's really where we want also to focus in the coming years. And finally, being refreshingly smart, right? It's about really leveraging the information that we have about our customers to make a difference in the way we interact with them. If you think about it, most of the time when a client interacts with you, most of the things he's looking for, or most of the things that he has to do, you already have that information about the customer. You can already like give insight or elements that will facilitate the customer journey. That's what we mean by being refreshingly smart and trying to make a difference in that sense. We believe in that, and we believe in that also for our business model, right? It's not like being customer-centric just for the sake of it. It's also because we know and we see that the more, let's say, interaction you have with the customer, and the more those things, those interactions are delivered with the best customer experience, the more engagement you have with the customer, which drive also more sales and more revenue for the bank. The voice of the customer is an extremely important part of our strategy, and we measure that constantly through the NPS, our App Store rating, our Google Store rating, and we're also looking at deeper research just after customers have done like a certain step to really ask them to rate us and understand what we can still improve in the journey. But again, the customer-centric approach is not like a thing in itself, it's also a big part of our business model. Now I'll come a little bit to explain how do we do that in practice. You know, I remember seeing that picture in 2015 when I visited Philippines for the first time, after I spent almost half of my time in the Philippines. We started with a dream, right? A dream of bringing like the experience of ING that we've been delivering in many countries to the Philippines. It started with that, and it started with a journey where we have been able to be the first bank to launch like a full end-to-end digital process and digital engagement platform in October 2018. It started with the first onboarding process because that was one of the biggest pain points, right, in the market. With the support of BSP and the new regulation that were coming in the Philippines, we've been able to use extremely advanced technology in order to identify our customers, in order to further promote the customers to engage with the bank. And today we've been able to onboard like hundreds of thousands of customers into our platform. And that's a service that was really amazing. Also, we make banking easy, right? And really quickly, we saw that, you know, check deposit was one of the pain points in the market where you have to queue, go to the branch, fill in details, like all of those things came together. And we thought like maybe that's a customer journey that we can improve. Being able to make a check deposit to save money, that sounds really simple, but to be honest, to execute, that was extremely difficult, and our technology has enabled us to also like make a difference there. And those are the type of customer journey that we are focusing on. If you think about like the initial statement I was making about our customer experience, I think the check deposit is extremely a good example of that. We also been like really strong promoter of PesoNet as an interbank network. I think like Philippines just started when we started, and today like it's becoming like a scheme that is more and more adopted by the customer. We also focus on InstaPay because that's also like in terms of adoption really large, but we make the money transfers also really easy. And I think one thing that is really important in the digital banking business model is not only to focus on the processes and the technology, it's also important to focus on the pricing. Because you are in the situation that you can have lower cost base because you don't have a branch network to run, you can really transfer the value that you are creating back to the customer. And that's how we are delivering like a differentiating pricing experience as well, by having no fees on any of the transactions that you have with the bank. We also noted something really interesting when we did some research in the market. We saw that, you know, the #1 choice driver for customers, like when they selected their banks in the Philippines, was the size of the branch network. So really quickly, we saw that as a key challenge for us to address and understand how and what does it mean really like for the customer to tell us like the branch really matters, the branch really matters. We quickly understood that it was not about the branch. It was about the proximity. It was about giving like the customer an option open when something goes wrong or when they have to do something. Therefore, we really pivoted on that sense, and our solution to that was to create a 24/7 chat solution where people can basically interact with the bank anytime they want. That's also really important in our strategy, because we're trying to understand not really what customer want or what they say they want, but we try to understand what are the underlying needs that are behind the expression of this ask. Right? People need branches, but why do they need branches? They need branches because they want intimacy and proximity. Can you deliver that proximity and that intimacy with another form? Our chat 24/7 was the answer to that. And this is something really reassuring for the customers to know that they can bank with us at any time in the day. As I was saying, transferring value and the benefit, the cost benefit advantage that you have to the customer was extremely critical in our journey. So that's why we maximize the interest of the customer by offering high interest rate. And we really continue on that journey by maintaining our 4% interest rate for new to bank customers, and also continuously like having no fees or no specific conditions for customers to engage with ING as a bank. So if I can summarize, right, a little bit what we've been trying to do, and I think from a customer interaction and customer engagement perspective, that has been critical. We are a global bank, and we will continue to be a global bank. That's ING, and that's our DNA. And we understand that building scalable, open, and borderless platform is a winning position for the future for us. We also understand that banking products have become commodities, and there is nothing else that you can differentiate from than the customer experience. For that, we have really important principles. We try to be easy, smart, and personal. We do that by delivering differentiating processes, customer experience, and in Philippines, we've been trying to do that with our saving deposit proposition. And this proposition, we're really looking forward to grow it into new services and new functionalities. And that's really what we are focusing on right now, with some new proposition coming in the market by the end of the year. So thank you again for your attention. Thank you for your support. And I would like to thank also Dicini for the support they have given us in the past 2 years. That was a fantastic journey. And it's really great to be able to interact with partners like you who have like a customer-centric, innovative mentality. And again, really happy to be and honored to be part of this crowd today and the tribe and the speakers, because I believe we are like part of the same team, bringing like a different experience to the Filipinos customers.
Thank you, Mohammed. So I hope you stick around. You know, Mohammed actually coming in from Singapore, and if I could just be given a chance, I'd like to do a proper intro for Mohammed, which I was unable to do. So I will. I'll just read this out. So Mohammed is the head of retail development for Asia in ING. He is a graduate with a master's degree in organization and change management from Paris 8 University, and a master's of science in strategic marketing leadership from Henley Business School. He's been with ING for about more than 10 years, started in ING Direct France as a business analyst, and then moving on to ING Main as an international product manager until he headed up the international business development. And then most recently now, he's the head of retail development in Asia and head of retail in the Philippines. Our next speaker is Mr. Lito Villanueva. Mr. Lito Villanueva is the Executive Vice President and Chief Innovation and Inclusion Officer at RCBC. He's a graduate of the University of Santo Tomas with a degree in political science and an MA in public administration. He likewise holds a degree in national security administration from the National Defense College of the Philippines, and has likewise completed executive education course at the University of Cambridge in digital transformation by design. He is currently the Executive Vice President and Chief Innovation Officer at RCBC, and is also significantly the head of the FinTech Alliance Philippines, where he is the founding chairman. Among his other activities, he is the president of the BSP Governor Nestor Espinilla Institute for Growth Towards National Inclusion, Transformation, and Empowerment, or IGNITE, and was also awarded top 100 FinTech leaders in Asia. I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Lito Villanueva.
Hi, thank you so much, Attorney JJ, and of course to the men and women of the Sinilo Center. And again, also to my co-speaker, Mohammed, good afternoon. And of course, to all of the online viewers this afternoon. So may I now be allowed to share my deck?
There you go, sir.
Okay. Okay. So I am, my topic for this afternoon will be more about surviving and thriving in this pandemic, no? Because we are now experiencing a major transformation that has been that was caused by this particular global health concern. Now, of course, we know for a fact that this pandemic or this crisis is not just about, it's not focused on Philippines alone, but it is a global, a global issue. And practically, before they've been saying that the greatest disruptor of the banking of financial landscape would be the fintech players. But it turned out that the greatest disruptor of mankind is COVID-19. So this actually accelerated the digital transformation of all organizations across segments and sectors globally. Now, I just would like to share with you the crisis response formula. I just formulated this because, of course, I am the one in charge of the digital portfolio of the entire RCBC. That includes the Yuchenko group of companies that has a wide array of businesses in the country. Now, I would like to coin it, or this equation: R3 plus ECQ plus S2 is equal to digital CAD. So what does it mean? So it means that during this crisis, we were able to come up with relevant, responsive, and realistic products and services, and be able to come up with, practically enhancing our processes, trying to review all the things that we've been doing prior to COVID and how it will be more relevant to the times. And of course, coming up with those, offerings that would be easy, convenient, and of high quality. And of course, ensuring that we deploy this to the market the quickest possible time for us to be able to scale it immediately. And of course, the result would be to have, to generate digital consumer adoption and customer delight. Now, I also would like to share this with you in terms of having to identify the four imperatives or pillars in driving consumer adoption and scale. So I would want, while most players in the industry have been coining it or have been terming it as customer-centric, I would want to call it as more human-centric, because it really covers the totality of the human being, insofar as him or her as being the ultimate beneficiary of all of the things that we've been doing right now. So amongst these four would be data evidence driven. So in anything that you do, in making decisions, in crafting your strategy, and even deciding on execution, should be based or hinge on data or evidence driven proposition, right? So the thing here is now, because with the preponderance of all of this data, insights and data analytics, etc. So it's more of how you would now be able to leverage on those data and be able to mine them. Of course, you need to also ensure that you have relevance and impact, because given the fact that you have practically a number of players in the industry, your ultimate goal is on how you can be, you be recognized by the consumer. And amongst the four, I would put the most in terms of premium on empathetic engagement. You really have to come up with a proposition that has a heart in it, right? Because because that the culture of the Filipinos, I mean, in terms of the behavior, in terms of their preferences or tastes, etc. We love telenovelas. We love to watch emotion-filled movies, or other events, etc. And we're so attached with with those things, right? So because we are a patriarchal society, we're so close with our families, etc. So we care with each one. So that's why it has to. That's why even in terms of execution or in terms of offering products and services to your clientele or to your target market, it has to evoke some emotions. And of course, awareness and education. You don't want to be your product to be a best kept secret. You want to tell the whole world about your product, about its features, its benefits, and its impact to your target audience. Now, I also would like to share this. I mean, I will be discussing about three imperatives. No? The first imperative is listen, listen, listen. So listening to your customers would always be the primary, I think that will be the cardinal rule, right? Because you won't be in this, in any business if you are not listening to your customers, because your customers would be the reason why you are into this business, because you won't be able to have a successful product or service or organization without you, without any inputs or without you listening to the pain points, to the wants, to the needs of your individual customers. Now, just to show you, as an example, this would be an illustration of how listening to customers would really impact on your business. So during the time of when ECQ was declared on March 16, practically we had to discard our 2020 plans that were practically crafted at the last quarter of 2019. So, literally speaking, we have to throw it out of the window because those plans will no longer work in the COVID scenario, right? So what we did was to quickly pivot and come up with ways on how we can, ensure that it would be business as usual. So what with all of these numbers that you're seeing on your screen, we now see that there have been exponential growth in terms of adoption by the customers, up to the point that we even hit a 4-digit growth rate. So these are some examples of how we were able to adjust to the times, because we know that majority of practically majority of all the branches or the branch networks of all banks in the country have been shut off during the hard lockdown, and people were really forced to go digital. And I was even asked that question before, that should there be post-COVID, will people who tried going digital, will they still go back to the traditional way of doing transactions? My simple answer to that would be no, because once you try digital, it's really addictive, right? So because it's so easy, it's seamless, it's practically frictionless, convenient, and it has so much transparency. So just to show you, the good thing here is that we were able to prepare for the COVID-19, and the ATM Go, which is a handheld ATM POS device, have been deployed way ahead of time. And in fact, that time we were already at about in 71 out of 81 provinces nationwide. So with the COVID-19, all of those 1,800 terminals were already in those payout partners in those localities. And when government came up with a program on social amelioration program, the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino, or the CCT beneficiaries, were able now to get their cash through our payout partners. So any ATM card issued by any BankNet member will be accepted through this facility. And of course, a number of other digital channels have seen remarkable growth. Now, of course, when we talk about digitalization, we see so much, impact in terms of empowering, enabling, and engaging our customers, especially the marginalized individuals in the remotest towns of the Philippines. And one thing that I'm very much fond of in terms of in terms of photos here, the one at the center, I call that the cash on a stick, because of social distancing, etc. This guy, who's actually one of our payout partners, came up with a very innovative, ingenious way of handing the cash to the CCT beneficiary, so with cash on a stick. And of course, even in rugged terrains and coastal towns, we also see our partners disbursing cash using our ATM Go terminals. So if you could see in that photo on your right, I mean, even I think a cow or a carabao also observing social distancing protocols. Now, this would be some photos to show you the actual on-ground payout of the CCT and even the social amelioration program in various locations in the country. So even in 4th to 5th class municipalities, for example, in Torrijos, Marinduque, in Alicia, Zamboanga, Sibugay, these are some of the locations that we never that are actually part of the top 20 poorest provinces in the country. And leading now to my second imperative is you have to stand out, right? Because we know that we have close to about 200 mobile apps in the Philippines. And of that, and on top of the 200, you now have about over 4 million mobile apps worldwide. So imagine how can you make yourself seen and noticed by the public, given so many of these so many apps available in the market, right? So and the third imperative is that you have to be bold, right? In terms of setting your goals, of course, setting your goals is one, but making your proposition really, something that is unique, something that is different from the rest, will really spell, your edge over the others. So that is something that you really have to think about. So you don't want, because number one, you want to be different. You want to provide a much, a unique proposition in terms of them having to experience a different kind of banking, for example. Of course, we have a lot of mobile banking apps right now, but still, you have to come up with something that would really make it stand out. And what we thought of as one of those differentiating factors would be to come up with the country's first Taglish inclusion super app. And that is DISKARTECH, right? Because what we said as another rule is that bawal ang nosebleed, no? Meaning, so the first barrier to entry is awareness or understanding or being able for you to send the message across, right? So because if we are really promoting financial inclusion, financial education, digital literacy, we don't want this English terminologies or these phrases to be communicated to our mass market. Well, in fact, they don't even understand what those terminologies would mean, right? So it is more of how you can communicate that in an efficient, in a very easy manner, so that they'll be able to absorb what you are trying to say. So that's why we were able to come up with this one, and luckily the public, the consuming public, was able to warmly embrace this innovation. And just to give you, just to show you briefly a video about DISKARTECH. Please watch.
This is your partner sa pag-asenso. This is DISKARTECH, a fusion of grit and enabling technologies the Filipino way. The country's first inclusion super app that hosts a suite of app-based financial services na nagbibigay ng hassle-free access sa mga financial services, pangkabuhayan, pati na rin healthcare access through our partner digital clinics nationwide through your smartphones sa angmang sulok ng bansa. DISKARTECH features a fun, convenient, and accessible interface na hindi ka mano-nosebleed. Dahil ito ang kauna-unahang Taglish mobile app sa bansa. Dahil easy to use at easy to understand ito. Hindi lang yan. Depende sa diskarte mo Pwede mo nang planuhin ang mga pag-iipunan mo. Sa DISKARTECH, may hashtag buhay ginhawa na gabay sa kung ano mang gusto mong life goals. Makabili ng motorsiklo, bagong cellphone, pang tuition ni Junior, o pang travel sa Japan o Boracay. Wala pang ilang minuto, meron ka ng DISKARTECH savings account. Ang bilis, di ba? Pwede ka mag-deposit na kikita pa dahil sa mataas na interes, withdraw sa libo-libong outlets nationwide o cardless ATM withdrawal at mag-transfer ng pera anytime. Magbayad ka na rin ng mga bills o gaya ng inyong passport renewal, NBI clearance at iba pang government billers. And soon, pati loans and insurance meron na din ang DISKARTECH. San ka pa? At dahil madiskarte ka, pwede mo ring pagkakitaan ito sa iyong barangay gamit ang cellphone mo. Pwede kang madiskarteng negosyante na serbisyohan ang mga kapitbahay mong wala pang smartphone o walang data access. Di na kailangang magpunta sa kung saan pa. Pwede nang makibayad sa iyo ng utility bills or government payments o magpa-load kasama na e-game pins. At kumita ng extra at marami pang iba. E di, sang ka pa? Lahat kasama. You know? And later on, magkakaroon na rin ng skills marketplace to help promote ang pangkabuhayan mo. This is DISKARTECH.
Okay, so you have seen a number of features in the app because, again, as I've said, it is the presentation or the packaging is really as a super app. So, of course, it is a deposit account. It's a savings account that earns for the user 3.25% interest. Of course, the usual bills payment and e-load. We will also be introducing loans by next month in partnership with various government and private lenders. And you could also actually generate extra income out of this because we have a member get member where for every successful referral that you make, you earn 30 pesos that is automatically credited to your basic deposit account. And the successful referee also gets 10 pesos. So it now becomes a concept of bayanihan. And of course, you can do cash in and cash out across around 30,000 touch point locations around the country. That would include 7-Eleven and Bite Center, among others. And of course, we also launched the insurance, the micro-insurance product where, you just imagine you can now buy an insurance protection for just 20 pesos and you will be covered for a period of 6 months. For whatever eventuality, you will be able, your beneficiaries will get 20,000 pesos. And even our riders, our commuters, even there is a dengue cash allowance where for 300 pesos for covered for 1 year, you get 10,000 pesos. If you contract, if you are been diagnosed with dengue, you don't need to be hospitalized. You just need to have a doctor's certificate to show that you have contracted dengue, and you will be given that 10,000 medical assistance. And of course, telemedicine, because knowing that most of our, most Filipinos are still afraid to get out of their homes, they will now be able to get this, this service for a period of 12 months plus another additional 3 months for only about 750 pesos. So just imagine how much would be a doctor consult right now. No? A doctor's consult right now would cost you at least 1,000 per consult, diba? Ito unlimited consultation for a period of 15 months, no, in the confines of your home. So just use your mobile phone or email, and etc. etc. And of course, we have QR code for payments, no. And in fact, this photo that you are seeing right now has been featured by Itbulaga because she is one of the beneficiaries of the DSWD social amelioration program. So what she did with that amount was that she started with a very small sari-sari store and made use of the DISKARTECH app for her business as well in selling airtime load. Okay, so again, in terms of empowerment would really have to start from home, right? So in fact, these are my kasambahay, and once you download the app, you can create the digital savings account in just less than 3 minutes, with no initial deposit, no maintaining balance, no dormancy fees, and your deposits are insured with PDIC. And in fact, the one at the center, practically came up with her own micro business, and she's selling, load and airtime load and bills payment. In fact, she's earning 500 pesos per day right now. Now, of course, even no less than BSP Governor Diokno, tweeted or made a social post, of course, congratulating the product itself, it being one of the initiatives that would further promote financial inclusion or inclusive digital finance. And just another, as I've said, among the 4 pillars on scaling consumer adoption is empathetic engagement, right? So, of course, this is something that is really closest to our hearts on how we can really provide assistance to our less fortunate, brothers and sisters. So this is actually our way of helping government in quickly disbursing the social protection, the cash emergency subsidy for about 18 million families in the country. So just to give you an example, so there has been, this is really a blockbuster thing on ground during the on-ground payout. So we even those the senior citizens who are not able to really line up and go to the payout centers, we really have to go to their respective places just to provide the needed cash for them. Now, also another set of photos, this would be, a way by which we are facilitating the disbursements across several areas in the country. And again, in partnership with our various payout collaborators, we have various rural banks, cooperatives, MFIs, even pawn shops and sari-sari stores. Now, when we participated with in the DSWD AYUDA disbursement, we call it AYUDA Arrancada. So we have disbursed close to 100% already in terms and also in terms of creating restricted transactional accounts, because some of them are not do not even have mobile phones. So that's why you really have to adapt to those requirements. And just to show you some demographics, 60% of our of DISKARTECH users are female, and this is also interesting that 2/3 of our base would be coming from outside Metro Manila, and the bulk of our users would be in the age range of 21 to 30 years old, at 56%. So it's really meant for the Gen Z, the Generation Z. And it's really meant for those people who are no longer so used to going to branches or brick and mortar. So that's why I said that we have now transitioned from bricks to clicks. And of course, when we did, again, as I've said, you have to listen to your customers. You have to be bold. You have to stand out. So of course, we have to leverage on social media. And in fact, we have, in some of our major social media posts, we generated over 3.5 million views. We have over 20,000 daily web visitors and about 65% monthly active users. And in fact, I just would like to point point to you. I mean, this two squares here. This would be the positive sentiments. This would be on social listening. So from the time that we launched this product, July 10 to August 5, it's at 94.5%. But from September 14 to 21, it has further improved to 98.6%. And of course, what Mohammed said, about having no branches, because practically your branch would be just your mobile phone, in terms of you being able to bank through DISKARTECH. In this particular case, we also have leverage on technologies. So we have our chatbot as well. So again, our chatbot is in Tagalog or in Taglish, so to make sure that they would further understand the processes or on how they can quickly engage and resolve any issue or concern that they may have. Now, also in partnership with various government agencies such as BSP, DTI, Small Business Corporation, and the and Insurance Commission, we also came up with, having to engage our 1.3 million sari-sari stores nationwide. That would include 7 to 8 million estimated informal home-based online sellers. No? So if you are looking at, for some merchants, you would normally see some signs saying payments accepted here. So in our case, in keeping with our thrust of making it in Taglish, instead of payments accepted here, we term it pakisuyo dito, because we know that pakisuyo is actually our Filipino trait of showing malasakit with each other, no, or care with each other. And yung pakisuyo coming from pakikisama, pakikisalamuha, etc. So pakiload, pakibayad, pakipadala, pakibili, pakihulog, or pakikuha. So this, you will now be seeing a lot of this in most sari-sari stores, or even in palengkes, so nationwide. Ayan. So this would be some of the examples that we have done thus far, no? And of course, after we launched in July, so after 2 months, or now barely 3 months, actually at the end of August, we hit our 2 million mobile app downloads, and we were also surprised that we emerged to be the #1 in terms of ranking in the Google Play Store, no, and #2 in the App Store. And there was a fintech report that was issued, or that was published by Fintech Singapore, saying that this would be to show you how the rankings were in terms of usage penetration from February to August of 2020. So we were delighted that when we launched in July, we ranked #4, and immediately we hit the top spot the following month. And of course, as I've said, having to let your target market know about your product. So we're also aggressive in terms of doing our merchandising across the country. So, and now we are seeing that even sari-sari store, or those people who are customers in the wet market, or public markets, are now using QR codes of DISKARTECH. And of course, with all of these things, we have recently won 2 awards as Best Digital Bank from Alpha Southeast Asia, and we just received news yesterday from the Global Economics that we also got the Most Innovative Internet Banking Services Provider Award for the Philippines in 2020. And okay, wrapping up, so just would like to share this with you, because I read this book about a week ago about cost. The title of the book is Cost Ovation. So apparently, innovation that gives your customers exactly what they want and nothing more. So ito yung sabi ko nga when we talk about DISKARTECH, simple, sakto, sigurado. Okay, and of course, in terms of today's key takeaways, because I started with an equation or a formula, I also would want to end with this one. DQ times AC. That means every player or every employee in your organization should have this one: digital quotient and agile culture. And lastly, if I may share with you our digital mantra, our better normal mantra in the organization. So it's an acronym that says that acronym for GEAR UP. Get it done now in terms of making things happen, execute seamlessly by way of scaling it exponentially, anticipate things, or by adapting or iterating ahead, or practically pivoting. Remove egos. You have to foster humility, unite to win. There should be no silos. There should be no silos. We have to synergize and collaborate. And of course, promote positivity. Hindi yung positive na COVID. Promote positivity amongst the members of the organization. And of course, the can-do attitude. And with that, thank you so much, and good afternoon.
Thank you, Sir Lito. So for our next speaker, we have Attorney Lars here. So just to speak briefly about the legal framework for digital banking. She's a graduate of the UP College of Law with a degree in Juris Doctor in 2015. She heads up our fintech practice at the law firm, and she is also a consultant on e-commerce, fintech, digital platforms, and data privacy at the UP Law Center's Technology Law and Policy Program. Legal 500 identified her as a next generation partner, and she frequently advises many fintechs, IT companies, and startups. She also heads the firm's legal education initiatives for startups and assists many clients in BSP license applications and compliance project. I'd like to welcome, sorry, Lars, just before you start, I just want to point out, there's something that I do, which I forgot to do, which I'd like to share where our people who are watching us, where they're from. I'd just like to read that out quickly. So we have someone from Lingayen, Bulacan, Quezon City, Manila, Pasay City, BGC, Pasig City, Antipolo, Parañaque, Alabang, Cavite, Laguna, Lucena, Daraga, Albay, Debes, Memscat, Masbate, Bohol, Hingoog, and Davao. So we have people all the way from Luzon all the way to Mindanao, and there's even somebody who says that she is coming in from, or somebody from Cebu. We're seeing it now. They're chatting. And somebody from England, John Turner from England, and we also have someone from Dubai. And I just want to inform everyone that actually all our speakers are in different places. So Lito is in Metro Manila. Mohammed is in Singapore. And Attorney Lars, sir, so our next speaker is actually coming in from, I see if I have this correct, Lars, you're coming in from Tabuk, right?
Yep.
In Kalinga. So I'd like to pass on to you, Lars. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. So thank you to our previous two speakers. So I think with their topics, with their presentations, we get a glimpse into the world of digital banking and actually how impactful digital solutions are, especially digital financial services are, to society generally, in terms of closing, in terms of serving the underbanked or the unbanked. So just before we head on to Q&A, my brief presentation will be on the existing regulatory framework that we have that's relevant to digital banks and what the future looks like in terms of regulation. All right. So there's been a lot of excitement on digital banking and digital financial services generally. And just to clarify, in terms of regulations, there's really no specific rule or specific licensing for digital banking. So right now, that's where we are. If a bank wants to become a digital bank, or if an entity wants to come in and be a digital bank, they actually have to come in and procure regular banking licenses. So that's either you get the license to be a commercial bank, a thrift bank, universal bank, investment bank, or a rural bank. But of course, if the BSP supervised entity, whether it be a bank, an EMI, or any other financial entity supervised by the Bangko Sentral, when they want to provide digital services, most likely they would fall under other regulatory regimes. So for example, if an entity wants to provide electronic payments and financial services, then that entity would have to procure an EPFS license. So that's either a basic EPFS license or an advanced EPFS license. So what falls under this one? So for example, if a bank wants to provide services through a mobile phone or through any other computer device, then they would have to get an EPFS. So that includes the transfer of funds, but it's not limited to that. It also includes the capacity to provide services. So for example, loan applications and other banking services. So in the comment section, in the Q&A panel, I actually saw one question like, will the regulator allow, or does the regulator allow banks and FIs to do, for example, electronic KYC or remote KYC? So stuff like that, that's already considered or legal under current regulation. So in terms of eKYC, actually, the BSP allows financial institutions a lot of leeway when it comes to doing their KYC processes. So for as long as a financial institution has its own risk-based KYC system, they can actually implement remote KYC for so long as they declare what type of technology they use and what the process is. So the BSP has been very flexible, or has been very enabling when it comes to digital solutions. So right now, regulatory reform is actually happening on two fronts. So one from the BSP, and there's another thing going on with in Congress right now. There's a draft bill. So for the BSP, the central bank has issued its own draft regulations in the past few weeks on digital banks. So under the draft regulation, the BSP seeks to amend the existing manual for banks in order to include digital bank as a separate classification in addition to the 6 existing classifications. So as you can see in the screen, digital bank would be included as one separate class. And in terms of the definition, so for the BSP, they consider a digital bank as a bank that largely offers financial products and services through digital platforms or electronic channels. So for this particular purpose, a digital bank will not be allowed to establish a branch or a branch light, except for office operations. And then under the draft guidelines also, there will be 2 classifications for digital banks. So it's basic or advanced. And the difference lies the main differences lies in the clients that they can serve, the services that they can offer, and of course the capitalization. So the digital banks it looks like, based on the draft, it looks like the basic digital bank would be mainly for retail customers and MSMEs, while advanced digital banks would cater to bigger clients and presumably take on bigger risk. As for services, the services for basic digital banks would be limited to these ones enumerated here. So deposit taking, foreign currency deposits, granting of unsecured loans, remittance, collection, and payment for the account of others. And the advanced digital bank would be able to do more things. So grant secured loans, issue credit cards, and possibly other activities which may be approved by the monetary board. So based on the draft, it looks like digital banks would be able to offer less services than your traditional commercial banks. Like for example, digital banks won't be able to invest in non-allied activities. They won't be able to provide credit facilities aside from the granting of straight loans. So I think at least as of now, the risk that the BSP would want digital banks to expose themselves would be less than your existing traditional banks, and that's also probably why the capitalization is just at 400 million, and then for advanced digital banks it's at 900 million. So for foreign participations, it's quite similar to the existing limitations now imposed on banks. So foreigners may enter the market. If they're not banks, they're limited to 40%. If they are qualified foreign banks, then they can own 100% of the digital bank. So just for everyone's information, here are some salient points from the efforts going on in the lower house. So this is being pushed now by Congressman Joey Salceda. There's a House bill for virtual banks, so they call it virtual banks as opposed to digital banks, where Congress wants to amend through law the General Banking Act in order to include virtual bank as a separate classification and also create its own licensing regime. So for the definitions are quite similar with the definition given by the central bank. However, the version in the House for virtual banks would actually allow virtual banks to engage in more activities as opposed to that proposed by the central bank for digital banks. So it includes the bill includes the grant of the ability to invest in bonds, debt securities, commercial papers, as well as the authority to issue letters of credit and offer other credit facilities. Under the current bill, Congress seeks to limit the grant of licenses to just 5 a year. So this is similar to how the licensing regime started for foreign banks. I think there was a time that there was an annual cap, or there's just a cap at any given time where only 10 foreign banks can come in. So anyway, that's where we are. That's the regulatory regime that we have at the moment. And I think the fact that the central bank has been active in issuing a draft guideline, and same thing with the lower house, it just shows, or it's aligned with the ongoing trust of the Bangko Sentral to promote innovation, promote digitalization of the financial industry, while at the same time ensuring that the consumers are protected and the risk exposure is somewhat controlled. So there. Thank you.
Thank you, Lars. So can I ask Lito and Mohammed to join us? I'm going to put this on gallery view. So we have a couple of questions from the audience. I'll throw the first one at Lito. There's a question here from Albert Tardeo. He asks that digital banking still requires a smartphone. This is a challenge right now for many underserved and unbanked. Is this a challenge now?
Well, I think, of course, for digital banking, you really have to have smartphones, right? And we have seen that you have, for the Philippines, in terms of penetration rate of smartphones, it would now be definitely more than more than 60%, and we're looking at about 80 to 90% in the next 3 years or so. So because you could now buy very cheap smartphones today.
Okay. Because I seem to recall. I'm trying to think now whether it was back in the day, but in Africa, I believe one of the most successful e-banking initiative was something called M-Pesa, no?
M-Pesa.
That used. Do you think that's still possible to do now? Sort of a reverse engineer M-Pesa, SMS-based banking, or that ship has sailed?
Well, it's no longer, of course, the Philippines, no, used to be the texting capital of the world, no, about what, 8 years ago, right? We normally generate over 1 billion SMS daily, right? But with the changing times, we are no longer, practically Filipinos now are no longer, utilizing SMS, no, but we are more into social media platforms, right? The likes of Facebook, Instagram, Viber, etc., right? So in fact, right now, we have shifted from being the texting capital of the world to being the #1 country in terms of Facebook posts, right? So I don't think the M-Pesa experience using feature phones would be a hit in the Philippines now in the present context, right? Because very few now would have feature phones actually.
Yeah, I found that it was interesting that a lot of your users actually the 29 to 30-year-old category. There was another question here, and actually Mohammed offered his answer. There he is. So I have a question for you, Mohammed, and this is I guess a China question. It's sort of related to the question that was asked earlier about wallets, GCash, etc. The wallets. Now, I noticed in China, or at least my understanding of what's going on in China is that WeChat and WeChat Pay is big. So the wallets are actually bigger, and in a sense, people jumped over and went to that. And I'm wondering whether is that possible to happen in the Philippine market, where people will do less banking but then go straight into a sort of digital wallet terrain?
So, you know, like wallets are run under the e-money regulation, right? And if you're familiar with it, like it has limited features and let's say amount of money that you can process on a yearly basis, right? So I think like if I look at wallets, they are definitely like part of the daily life of the customer. And that's probably like a natural step for people to enter their first interaction in digital banking services into the wallets. I also believe that, you know, long term, when you will have more and more digital banking services offered by the banks, and where, you know, the limit of the amount that you can process per year, or the limit of the loan that you can get, or the limit of the number of transactions that you can do will have some limitations, and therefore like digital banking will be a good proposition for people who want to deepen their digital financial services relationship to go there. I don't personally see it like as a threat. I see it as a complementary service, or like as a bridge service, as I was saying, where, you know, with a limited KYC, you can start to have a bit of a digital financial experience. What I believe is that when you enter and we move like to deeper financial services, banks are still in a better position to offer those services, especially because, you know, the amount goes higher, like the more security, the more CDD or customer due diligence requirements you need to have, the more regulation you have as well. So yeah, I think like for me, a digital wallet is kind of a teaser of what can be a digital financial experience, and comes like completely complementary to digital bank propositions. As it is in China, you know, if you look at WeChat and Alipay in China, yeah, they are like extremely relevant players in the market. But the moment you want to save money for more than a certain amount, or the moment you want to have investment product proposition, the moment you want to lend an amount more than 20,000 RMB, yeah, you still have to interact with the digital bank. So I think like the same way in China, Alipay and WeChat are living really well next to China Merchant and RCBC. I really see that inspiration from the Chinese market also relevant for other markets in Southeast Asia.
I see. So an analog would be that the banks are still there, but instead of cash, right, people will use their these mobile wallets to do that sort of in between. But then you keep most of your money in digital banks.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Mr. Lito. So going back to you know, I was intrigued by the pakisuyo concept that you guys came up with, because it seemed to me that it was a very Filipino type, sort of a cultural application of bringing digital services, and particularly the one for the tindahan, no? for the retail store, the small retail stores that we're all used to. I was reading a report, I think it's from the World Bank, some years back, that actually the poorer you are, the more expensive everything is. Credit is more expensive, goods are more expensive. And so do you see a role that digital banking will play in sort of making these costs lower?
Yes, well, thank you for that question. In fact, that is really the intent, the pakisuyo, no? Because I also saw a similar or related question dun sa Q&A box natin dito, no? In fact, while we understand that not all Filipinos would have access to mobile phones, even though they have mobile phones, some of those would still be analog phones, or if they do have smartphones, they do not have access to data services. So that's the issue. That's now that's now the intervention that we thought of, which is the pakisuyo, where people who do not have access to mobile phones or data would now be able to be serviced by those people who have access to smartphones and would have the DISKARTECH app. And I call it TOBO, no? Transaction on behalf of, right? So for example, a Filipino who does not have access to mobile phones or smartphone, or he only has a feature phone, or does not even have a data services or data access. So he could now actually go to that particular person who has access to DISKARTECH and be able to transact with any financial services that he or she may require, right? And practically that's it, right? So it's more of within the context of having a sachet banking, the same manner that we are so used to retail, sari-sari store concept, the tingi concept, right? So it's really more bringing the tingi concept or the retail concept to financial services. So it is further retailizing retail banking at the level of at the barangay level.
Thank you for that. Mohammed, there's a question here. I'm sure you answered it already, but since you were the first all digital bank, no physical presence, how hard was it to do things like KYC, and what sort of measures do you have in place to combat things like money laundering or in the bank? Being an online bank, is that more of a challenge?
So, you know, I think like being an online bank, you have to rely a lot on technology, right? It's not only the front end that you need to be like extremely advanced and innovative, it's the full end-to-end process of the bank. Luckily, you know, with ING, we've been starting that journey in 1997, right? Like, so that's more than 20 years ago since we are onboarding customer digitally. We started in Canada and now have more than 18 million customers that we serve completely digitally in Spain, in France, in Germany, in Italy. We've been able to see a little bit like of the do's and the don'ts in this domain, right? We also learned our lessons, right? We had some issue more on the wholesale banking side, unfortunately, but on the retail side, luckily we had less of challenges. But you know, it's a machine, right? It's a technology machine. Every day you are assessing the integrity of like hundreds of customers that are knocking at the door of the bank. You are checking their transactions every day through global systems. You are scanning about 6,000 checks per day. You are reviewing all these transactions on a daily basis. You are checking the nature of the transaction. You are checking the status of the customer. So yeah, I mean, like it comes with a lot of engineering and a lot of machine learning in the back end of the bank. But to be honest, like I think like it's a DNA that you have and that you build over the years. That's something that you do like with extremely large cautious, with multiple, you know, third-party audits during the year, with BSP supervision on any of the processes that you have. With as a European bank, we also have like European Central Bank and Dutch National Bank supervision as well. So yeah, there is a lot of investments, a lot of let's say focus on the security aspect and the customer due diligence aspect, but there is also a lot of controls to make sure that what we say we are doing, we're actually doing it, and that also comes with a lot of focus and energy for the bank. To be honest, that's also like something that requires a lot of expense and focus. And I think that sometimes, you know, being a large bank really also helps in this matter.
Thank you. Actually, when you were talking about technology, I was thinking from the regulator standpoint, it's a challenge for them as well, because now they have to assess not only the financial risk, now they have this other thing, right? Technology risk, security risk, information security risk, all of those things they have to consider, and they have to build up a lot of expertise, right? And then look at the landscape and see how they can protect our consumers. So Lito, just shifting a bit to, I saw the pictures that you put up on the conditional cash transfers, and I've always been intrigued by that, because conditional cash transfers involves a lot of people in the outlying areas, and this is a government program that's been going on for some years. And given the reach of the bank in serving this market, do you see that going digital is something that will be favorable to that segment?
Well, definitely, we have seen that, and those are, you know, empirical evidence, no, to show that indeed digital has tremendous impact, no, in society, especially during crisis, no, and we've seen that, and I think. Of course, not all branches would have presence in those localities or those locations. And that's why that has been the main issue, right? The banking in the Philippines has been here for over 100 years, yet we have not really covered the entire 7,107 islands in the country, right? But only through mobile phone or mobile device or digital technology that you could actually have all of these interfaces could happen in terms of servicing the requirements of our people living in in the coastal towns and rugged terrains. So having said that, again, I am a personal an advocate of open banking. So we cannot actually do all of these things without the critical collaboration with all the players in the industry, right? So for example, the payout partners are practically the rural banks, co-ops, MFIs, sari-sari stores, etc. So because we cannot, that will now be our, proxy extension of RCBC banking in those areas, right? But again, you don't need to really put up a brick and mortar setup or branch in those areas, because that would be very, very costly on your part. So the best way to do it is really how can you now leverage on the existing network of those people, of those establishments or those entities already existing in those areas, right? So because you now have we have over 400 rural banks in the country with practically several branches per rural bank. So it is a matter of having that same mindset and having same vision in terms of really being able to serve every Filipino, wherever they are in the country.
All right, thank you. So we're running out of time, and I'd just like to ask our speakers if for some parting words. Maybe we can start with Mohammed. Parting words. Just to close out. I'm sorry to put you on the spot there. I was trying to chat that in.
My closing remark. Sorry,
closing remark.
I'm French. Our English is really bad, so you have to say closing remarks. Because
I'm sorry.
I have much better English actually. That's the first thing that really impressed me 5 years ago when I visited first. So sorry for that. My closing remarks. So first, I think it's an amazing journey, guys. To be honest, I'm enjoying it. It has been 3 amazing years, and I think the 10 years we have ahead of us to transform Philippines towards a digitally driven financial services country, it's just fantastic. I'm thrilled to be part of that journey, and I'm just super excited of the coming next step. That's my first comment. My second comment is also thank you for the presentation, Lars. I'm not a big fan that the Philippines took the step to build specific license for digital banking, and because I believe there is no digital banks or non-digital banks, there are banks, and to be honest, I think there is a bit of let's say influence there of what has been done in Singapore and Hong Kong, but the best example for me that Philippines was having the right track and the right approach is that this is the country that had in Southeast Asia the most investments into digital banking in the past 3 years. If you look at what ING did, CIMB, what DISKARTECH is doing, what Como is coming, everything that has been happening in Philippines was ahead of the other Southeast Asian countries and deeper than the other Southeast Asian countries. So I think Philippines had the right strategy. I don't know, maybe the digital banking strategy will bring some additional stuff, but yeah, I'm personally was convinced that Philippines was on the perfect track to make a difference. My second remark is also that I was really impressed by your presentation, Lito. I must say that what you've been able to achieve in such limited time is pretty amazing. So there is some magic there that you have to share with me, because if you go that fast, I want to know better how you do that. So pretty amazed by that presentation as well. And I would like to thank you all for the event. I mean, for me, it has been great to get a bit of smell and feeling of the Philippines again, because I miss you guys a lot and I miss being on the ground. So thank you again for the opportunity, and was a fantastic discussions today. So thank you again, and thank you to participants for the smart questions that made me think also twice about a couple of things. So thank you again, everyone. For me, that has been great to be part of this.
Thank you. Lito?
Yes, thank you again, Mohammed. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you soon in Manila as soon as you're back. I mean, as soon as everything is okay, right? So, but I think before I say my last my last message. I think I just saw one question here about from one of the viewers here. saying that there's a news article that says RCBC will eventually fold DISKARTECH into a separate rural bank. What are your considerations in doing so? So in fact, that is right. But we have to hold on. We have to wait until such time that BSP would issue that new regulation on digital banks, because it doesn't make sense for us to be applying for a rural bank license and eventually we'll have to reapply again to shift that rural bank license to become digital bank license, right? So we'd rather wait for that definitive regulation pertaining to rural banks. So anyway, having said that, I think, again, I would like to thank Attorney JJ and the Dicini Law Center, and of course, Attorney Lars, and the rest of the other men and women of Dicini Law Office. Thank you for this invitation. And of course, I really enjoyed this discussion with the rest of the, of course, with Mohammed and with Attorney Lars. And I think we are in a very exciting phase in the digital transformation journey, specifically focusing on promoting inclusive digital finance. I think, as I've said in my earlier statement, that the pandemic really made it really facilitated the fast-paced implementation or development of this particular change of going digital. And I think because this will definitely be in our midst, as I've said, COVID-19 will be here. It is a matter of how we coexist with COVID-19 and go on with our lives, right? And I think in having to set up for, or in terms of having to brace ourselves for what is there to come post-COVID, or even during COVID, which will last for quite a longer period of time, would be on how we can make use of all of these emerging technologies or digital technologies that would really make this, I don't want to call it better normal or new normal. I want to call it as the new world order, right? So this is the reality that we are in right now. We don't need to complain anymore, because this is something that is already in our, as part of our, part of our lives. We just have to deal with it. So I think, again, to all the viewers of this particular webinar, so I would like to encourage you to, if you could try DISKARTECH and try to download the DISKARTECH app, so that you could also experience the country's first Taglish inclusion super app. Thank you, and good afternoon to all.
Thank you to our speakers. Attorney Lars has begged off from giving a closing statement. Perhaps just to say, maybe in her behalf, that I guess in any kind of regulatory regime, we always try to hold on to the belief that less is more. In places where there's not much of a risk, but there's a large potential, sometimes less regulations actually results in better things, as Mohammed pointed earlier. More investment, deeper involvement, and as we can see with RCBC is doing, their providing financial inclusion, and as the industry itself collectively innovates towards solving problems for everyone. And this is what digital transformation is about. It's about becoming more customer-centric and filling the void and the needs of our countrymen. And I think today's session brought a lot of those issues to fore. I just want to close on saying that you can get we will send you an email. If you register for this event, we will send you an email where you can get your e-certificate, and you'll be given an opportunity to donate and be part of DTT Donate. I'd like to thank our speakers. They're also part of that campaign. We're trying to help our COVID frontliners. And on that note, I'd like to close. Thank you, and good afternoon.